I haven't been able to tie up all these solar minimums to the art and the records, but there was a 1730 piece of art which corresponded with the Dalton minimum, and there was French paintings of the orbs and spheres in Angers in France around, I think it was 742, and of course in the rock art, Bronze Age rock art. There is literally thousands of what they call cut marks or rings or whatever. Um, and I suggest that that was seen as a common thing. So it was seen all the time. I would suggest probably at the magnetic centers where they built the megalithic standing stones, pyramids and all those places where we know that the magnetic energy of the earth fluctuates, and we would be through the increased energy at those positions be seeing it. So now we have a white sun. It was, in fact, by the time I finished the book, I was predicting this minimum that we know, and it's gone from yellow to white. And I wrote to a chappie called Maurice Cottrell. I was trying to tie up some of his data with the success rate and the failure rate of failing to record the bars, and I'll explain that later on in as the magnetic winding theory that Maurice Cottrell came up with. So we're now in a minimum, and the mechanics of that minimum means the heliosphere is weakened. I believe that the sun's field is now in contraction, and this allows particles in from other solar systems, and the stream from the bell and the megalithic stone circles can be explained as us being bombarded with a particle that will recharge our magnetic field, and then we will go back into the cycle of the magnetic field increasing. And as the magnetic field increasing, we will see more and more of the sky phenomenon.
Okay. That's interesting. And, you touched on the sun being white versus yellow. Is that part of what we're going through with the weakening?
Well, when I was a kid, you couldn't look at the sun, right? I often look at the sun now. And what I'll do is early morning, if there's a mist over the sun, you can look at it and you'll see it. If you stare at it long enough, and I'm not suggesting anyone do it, I'll do it because I'm interested in what's happening in the sun. You will see it eventually. Now, whether this is an optical effect of the eye, it changes from white to black.
Yes, right? I've noticed that.
And also, it starts oscillating in its center. So what we've got is an oscillation from the center that you can look at. I couldn't look at the sun because it was bright yellow for more than a second before the retinas, you're just burning in your eyes. You can look at it for 20 minutes if you've got a bit of cloud cover, you can look at it. You couldn't even look at it through cloud cover when I was a kid.
Yes,
and of course, Cliff's experiments with that 18th century prism that he's had is suggesting that the light frequencies are changing as well. So we're in a minimum. I believe in cycles of time, so that if you get a magnetic decline for 5,000 years, then you should have a regeneration, or we have the end. And because I believe in the cycles of time, so that we're going to go through a regeneration of magnetic field, and we're going to regain this understanding of the universe, of what was talked of in the Inner Elish, and many other ancient mythologies. And hopefully we can maintain our levels of technology as well. We could then be a less selfish world, because we basically connect into the fields of energy, which become, as again, more energized. And so this remote viewing would be a common thing. You could also then look at any one individual and you would know straight away what they are, because you can feel it. So you'd never vote for a corrupt leader anymore. It's pretty simple. The Illuminati, the controlling elite, the ones who worship God of money, they're our brothers and sisters. I don't know why they would deny God and worship what is their concept of the devil, or negative forces,
Right.
But they're our brothers and sisters, and they will have to come to terms with what they're doing in that accountability to themselves, because they won't be able to lie to themselves in that accountability. It's absolute truth. You know what I mean?
I do, and it'll
so
be a
they'll
welcome
have
change.
and they'll have to come back and relearn this process. They'll have to relearn the right way. They'll have to come back. I don't know. Do you believe in reincarnation? I never did.
Yes, I do, and it's a fluid belief as the more I learn. Yes.
Yeah, well, I remember that one of the representatives who came to me when I was dying, right? So I was yellow, and he had a pinstripe suit on, right?
Okay.
And he came into my office, and he always had he was a immaculate rep, and a very good rep as well, So he'd come into my offices, and he wanted to sell me furniture, and he changed into like a linen. Like an Arab would wear, and sandals, so, and I was remembering from when we used to trade before in a past life in Sardinia, and I have many of these flashbacks coming back. So it was, and as a conventional Christian, my mother was a Sunday school teacher. It was like, and I go, and I'm sitting behind my desk, and I'm going, he's in a suit, Paul. He's in a suit. He's in a suit. Like the Wizard of Oz. I want to go home, clicking your feet. And I'm going, oh, he's in a suit. I know he's in a suit. And and I'm going, and I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking, oh, this is too. And I went home in the end. I said, oh, Leighton, I can't see you. Oops, I can't see you. I'm going home. So, yeah.
Now, do you think he had any recollection of you?
Oh well, there is a absolutely fascinating one. I met two of my brothers, and all right, we can call it imagination because there's no proof, is there? You could say that this is imagination. I can give you evidence on the science, and I can quote stuff, and I can, and I'm very much an evidence-based person. But there's no. This is like. There's no evidence to it. But anyway, there's a printer in Wales who I knew, and I met him, and I knew he was my brother in a past life, and it was first century, early, this first century, maybe 20 AD, or and we were soldiers, and we were ruthless soldiers. I met another person who was my brother as well, and we were ruthless soldiers. We were so ruthless that we cut the heads off horses. So. This is the killing children. I mean, it was all right for Moses to command his people to kill the babies. Right. So anyway, so this is where the imagination stops, and sort of a reality comes in. So I told this he did sports embroidery did and printing and journal printing and stuff like that. So when the final day that I was getting rid of my copying company, one of the last few actions I did, I went to see him. And I went into his embroidery room, and he was doing a rugby kit, embroidery on the rugby kit. So I forgot to tell you something, that when we went into battle, we had a horse's head on our standard dripping with blood.
Mm.
So we were going to battle with this, and everyone would run because we'd win the battle, because everyone knew that we. Now, this should be easy to find in history if there were three brothers. I mean, I'd never looked because I'd never. So we're walking in with this standard, the head dripping with blood. So it may be that this could be imagination or whatever. But the printer was embroidering a set of rugby kit, and this was when I was just about to move out of business, and that was the end of it all. And he was embroidering on the shirt a horse's head dripping with blood.
Oh gosh!
And I told him about this before, that he was my brother, and he thought, he knew I could heal because I was doing healing on his knees. So I took, and then when he's seen it, I said, "Hey Jeff," and again, sorry for using the names, because it's not fair to these people. I said, "What are you embroidering there?" And he looked down and he said, "Oh no," he goes, "Oh no." And so I'll tell you some of the healings because they're funny as well,
Wow.
But I mean, does this make it real? It's just my story. I mean, personally, I don't particularly care whether people consider the orbs as energy. I don't want people to think they're UFOs invading the Earth. That matters to me.
Right.
If people think that I'm insane, and I've helped a couple of people along the way, then that's fine. I'll carry on my insanity. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Absolutely.
It doesn't matter to me. It's I know what I am. I know what I do. The world knows. Let the world think whatever. It doesn't matter.
You're right. It doesn't matter. Well, I appreciate that story and looking forward to hearing more.
I know it's off subject.
That's quite all right. We'll just let this go where it needs to. I do have a question for you, though, about the Don Juan teachings by Carlos Castaneda. He spoke of an assemblage point that exists as a point of energy outside the human being. And I was curious if you have any thoughts on the orbs you see near humans or the energetic objects as being the energy signature of that human. Was that similar to what he was explaining in his teachings?
I've never, again, I'm not widely read. I'm, obviously dyslexic, so my mind works in a different way as well. So I tend not to read lots of long, heavy books. So I wouldn't know about Don Juan's teachings. So I've never really, I see it in my own way. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean. Yes.
I've never considered it. I don't know whether this is I've put a little note to this question because I didn't, it's not something I could answer easy. The Buddha referenced spheres of consciousness.